Christmas is in what? Less than 3 weeks, and some Panther fans got their presents already. Panther people, what is up? Watching Panthers Post with Phil Perkins. Thanks for joining us. If you're new here, make sure to like, subscribe, keep pounding all those buttons, and let your comments be known in the comment community. It's a beautiful place to be. There's going to be a lot to be said. Just at 1 o'clock, when everyone else was playing on the Carolina Panthers bye week, typical NFL, typical Carolina Panthers, keeping us engaged on all the socials, David Tepper, Scott Fitterer, Matt Rule have fired offensive coordinator Joe the Whiz Kid Brady. No longer the offensive coordinator. Matt Rule said that he thought that everyone was going to have their jobs by the time they get back to prepare for the Atlanta Falcons at Bank of America Stadium after the bye week. But after some reflection that he said he's going to be doing, he said he's not going to take anything off the table. It looks like he kicked one thing off the table, and that is offensive coordinator Joe Brady. He's not going to be the head coach at LSU. He's not going to go to Oklahoma, not going to Notre Dame, not going to USC. He is straight up unemployed right now. Joe Brady, who is unable to adjust on the fly, whether it's on the fly or even at halftime. Teddy Bridgewater, of course, in that infamous interview saying that for his own growth, Joe Brady's got to learn to do a 2-minute drill practice during the week. Running backs coach Jeff Nixon is going to be taking over for Joe Brady as the offensive coordinator. That kind of falls in line with what Matt Rule wants to be, what has he wanted to be the entire time, and that is a run-first team. Ironically, Nixon is coming in as offensive coordinator without their number one running back and Christian McCaffrey out for the freaking year. Let's see how creative he gets. If anyone knows the running back room best, it's going to be Coach Nixon. So that's going to be cool, and we'll see what he does for the next 5 games, because as we're seeing right now, firing your offensive coordinator is a pure I'm saving my ass move by Matt Rule right now. The next 5 games, Falcons, Buffalo, Tampa, Saints. Tampa is going to make or break this guy's career. Sure, a lot of reporters saying that, Matt Rule, who now he's not going to be filling into the big college jobs right now. They're all been occupied. By the way, Notre Dame filled by a half Korean head coach. What's up? But Matt Rule going to be staying put. He wants to see this through. He wants to build a winner. And I guess the one thing that was getting in his way was the fact that the offense was inept. And Joe Brady just wasn't cutting it. So he cut him before he can even apply for other jobs right now. So Joe Brady out as a Carolina Panthers offensive coordinator. And let me know how you feel in the comment community. Good move? Bad move? Do you feel like you're more engaged now with the team in the next 5 games? And how do you feel like Coach Jeff Nixon's going to do? Also, if you guys were watching the ACC Championship yesterday, not going to lie, it was a little weird with my fellow Canadian, Mr. Jones, on the play-by-play for ESPN saying, touchdown Panthers, but the Panthers weren't playing. At least the Carolina Panthers weren't playing. The Pittsburgh Panthers were playing, and one Kenny Pickett showing off the absolute wheels and arguably the strongest ACLs in the gosh darn country with the fake slide and continuing to run for a 57-yard touchdown. He had showed some pretty good accuracy as well. Sure, he's wearing the double glove. Apparently, he's got some small hands, but he looked like not that much of a statue. A guy of his size, not a statue, showing a little dual threat, little D dual threat ability as the quarterback. And of course, you better believe Scott Fitterer and company were watching him. We're like, interesting. But as I've been saying for a while now, I'd still invest heavily on the offensive line. If a quarterback slips, in the second round, if the Panthers obtain a second-round pick somehow, whether it's Malik Willis or Sam Howell or someone like that, then I would jump on a quarterback, someone that Cam Newton, assuming that he's still with the team, would then groom that quarterback. All right, forget speaking about the future. Let's get right to it. You guys might recognize his voice from the Locked On Panthers podcast every single day for you, for me. I've even told him I can't listen to his podcast before I record this show because I'll probably just steal a lot of his ideas. But he's a former WFNZ guy. You heard his voice there. Now you're hearing his voice on Locked On Panthers. Super gracious with his time. I truly appreciate it. And man, the voice, silky smooth. And even better when he talks the Panthers. And what the hell's the future going to look like for this franchise? It's the one and only Julian Council. Take a look and listen. Thanks again. See you guys midweek.
How would you see his future with the team now that someone like Scott Fitterer, who is a pretty big voice and has been aggressive with this team since he got here? I forget how many trades that guy has made already. But how do you think Cam's short or long-term future will be with this team now that he's back here?
I don't know. It's hard to say because it's a thing that's like using your brain and your heart. You're trying to like separate the two, because my heart wants him to be here until he's done playing in the NFL. Like that's what I always wanted. My head tells me it's like, I just haven't seen enough. That's the thing. Even last year, I didn't watch a ton of Pat's games, but every time I tuned in, he didn't look great. Other than the Seattle game on Sunday Night Football, where it's like, see, shouldn't have got rid of Cam Newton. Then he gets COVID. How much does that factor into him playing poorly the rest of the season? And by like poorly, not playing to that level that he played against Seattle. Because the way he played against Seattle, you're thinking, okay, this guy is about to just like dominate and torch the league and show everyone that like, oh man, Bill Belichick, now he's got Cam Newton. Great. We got to deal with this for the next 5 or 7 years or however many years it's going to be. So like, and he was so good in New England where like Bill Belichick's like, hey, I'm going to draft Mac Jones and move on from Cam. So that just kind of tells you like, hey, like he's good, but you know, he's not coveted. And the only team in the NFL that wanted him was Carolina. And that's after they had the injury to Sam Darnold. So is Sam Darnold still healthy and playing terribly? Is Cam Newton here? Probably not. Right. So that's one of the situations where I would love, like if he plays the way he played on Sunday, where it was like 21 and 27, only like 189 yards, but had 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. Most important stat. Right. No mistakes. And that's all they need him to do is like not to make mistakes, operate the offense. If he's able to do that for the next 6 weeks, then yeah, why not bring him back next year? What does that look like beyond next season? I don't know. For me, I would love to see for Panthers and for Cam, if he looks like he's looked every Sunday they're moving forward and they can get into the playoffs. I don't think they're going to go particularly far just based off of like, there's not a consistent football team. Right. So it's just hard to believe that they're going to do anything when they get there. Now, it's NFL, wild season, anything can happen, any given Sunday, yada, yada, yada. You've heard all the cliches. But if he can do that, and I think he's going to continue to be consistent like he played on Sunday. Like, I'm not really worried about him. If he's able to do that, then I say you give him like a 3-year contract, but really like 2 years, where first year is most of the money's there. Then the second year, you got like half of it's guaranteed. You can get out of it in, I guess, 2023 off season. And that can give the Panthers an opportunity to evaluate. Because, like, if he's great his first season, like as a Pro Bowler, All Pro, or whatever, you can go ahead and just do another extension. Right. But it gives you the opportunity to be like, hey, you're our guy for the next 2 years at the very least. See where he's at. And then you can do another extension or you can move on. I just think that gives him flexibility to where they're not too locked down on him, but he's also able to get maybe like 25, 30 million a year. Right. And that could be potentially his final payday, just depending on like what his health is. Because I still don't know what that's going to look like long term.
The arm looked good. My thought too was like if he played all right and if they made it to the playoffs, squeaked in, see how they do, because they do have a couple road games that they seem to play better on the road than they do at home. So on the road at Miami, in Buffalo, at the Saints, at Tampa, maybe they win 4 games there. Who knows? But my thought is if they were to keep him on for like 2, potentially 3 years, they could do the team right quarterback wise and do what they probably should have done. And draft somebody later. Maybe not this year, because from early takes, it looks like this class is kind of weak. But if you had someone like a Malik Willis maybe slip to the second if they let someone go and they gained a second-round pick, and who better for a project quarterback to watch and observe than Cam and teach him the ropes and the culture in the Carolinas. I feel like that'd be a good move. I only wonder that I saw a report from Fowler from ESPN that he still believes that the Panthers are going to go big game hunting this offseason, whether it's a Deshaun Watson or Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. Looks like he's already on his way out. Him and Sierra are on the way out. And so I wonder about that. And that's kind of like the brain part you're talking about. There's the heart, then there's the brain. Like, does Tepper want that big splash still that he thinks could be a bigger wave than what Cam brings to the team? Those are the two kind of scenarios I'm thinking about.
Yeah, here's the thing, too. Like, you talk about that. We'll start off with just the big game hunting portion of that question. Like, I look at what Denver just did. Like, they just signed Cortland Sutton and who's their other wide receiver?
Is that Tim Patrick?
Forget. Tim Patrick, yeah.
No, Tim Patrick.
Well, but those 3 guys, they're all signed until like 2024. So kind of similar to what we have here in Carolina with our wide receivers. So that makes me think like Denver's in the market for a quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, big time hippie. Like that might make a lot of sense for him if he can get traded out to Denver, where they're going to have a new head coach, and that will also factor into whether he wants to be in Denver or not. It's going to have to be an offensive guy who he likes. So we'll see how that plays out. But I think Aaron Rodgers, I don't really think he's going to want to come down here. I think this team is attractive to want to come to. I just don't know if Aaron Rodgers is looking at like, Carolina, that's the organization I want to go to after spending all that time in Green Bay. I'm just thinking like what players on the outside probably think. They're probably like, I don't know about that just yet. Like I'm 39, I'm about to be 40, or whatever. Like I'm trying to go to a place where they have history of winning championships. And that's what the Denver Broncos are, even if John Elway's not in that GM role anymore. So I think that could be a possibility. I don't think that's going to happen here in Carolina. Deshaun, it's just something I'm still not going to talk about until like that's cleared up. Yeah. Like the one that intrigues me is the Russell Wilson situation because like he is from Seattle, where Scott Fitterer came from. They obviously have a relationship, and he has the ties to being from Richmond, Virginia. So going to North Carolina State, it would be a huge hit marketing-wise with the fan base. I know a lot of Panther fans probably don't like Russell, whether they were UNC fans such as myself or those battles that Carolina had those years with Russ in Seattle and the Legion of Boom and finally getting over the hump like they did in that Week 5 game on the road there in Seattle. But, like, that would make a lot of sense to me if they could get him. Like, if they can't get, like, Russell Wilson or the other two, then I'm fine sticking with Cam because everyone loves him anyway, and people are going to go to your building at the very least, David Tepper, and I think you can still win with him. Like, can you win a Super Bowl with him? I don't know. But, are you sure you can win a Super Bowl with Josh Allen and all these other young quarterbacks people talk about? And you talk about the young quarterback situation, everyone's saying how this upcoming draft is light on quarterbacks. Like Matt Corral at Ole Miss, I think he's fantastic. We'll see what he looks like. It's a crapshoot in my opinion. Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh has played himself into the first round. I'm skeptical of that. He did get recruited originally, had committed to Matt Rule back when he was at Temple before flipping to go to Pitt, but he was not very good his first couple of years, and he was given a 5th round to maybe not drafted grade last year. Now he's played really well this season. But I'm kind of skeptical of this guy, like all of a sudden, like being like the guy, even though he does play a pro style offense with Mark Whipple, who used to be at the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Ben Roethlisberger. So he at least knows how to go from 1, 2, 3 in his progression. So I do like that. I just don't know how much I actually love Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis. Top 2 games he's played this year hasn't looked great. I don't know. Like they could look good, but a couple years ago, 2018, I was told this is a great quarterback draft. Baker Mayfield. What's happening there in Cleveland with him?
He's going to be around next year. We don't even know.
Right. Josh Rosen never really got an opportunity. Sam Darnold, we see how that worked out. Josh Allen looked really good last year. This year's been kind of up and down, but I think he'll be fine long term. But really, what's the ceiling for Buffalo with him? I don't know. The best one of them went 32nd overall, Lamar Jackson.
Right.
So that's supposed to be a top-heavy quarterback draft. 3 of them stink. And one of them's an MVP. The other one looked really good for one single season. I think he'll be fine long term, but really got one superstar for sure out of those 5 quarterbacks. So I just don't really buy into it's like a light quarterback class because like the ones that are considered great don't always turn out to be that way. So I don't know, Cam, if I really want to watch Cam's replacement on the same sideline as Cam because I just like don't really like the idea of that. Right. Even though I know he'll be a professional and he'll certainly help that guy out. I just don't like want to sit there and be like, man, that guy's going to take over Cam like 2 years. Like, this is just like, it's going to feel dirty. If you're going to move on from him, you have to find someone that the fan base can immediately get behind. Right. Yeah. So that to me, that's either Russell Wilson because of his ties to NC State and just being a very good quarterback. And that's also, that could be Deshaun Watson. If that stuff gets cleared up because of the Clemson connection, that's a lot of your fan base. Or it's got to be a rookie quarterback. If it's any of those 3 outside of that, if it's not Cam, Russell, Deshaun, or a rookie, if it's a 5th option, then I think they're making a mistake.
You're saying you took leadership as a minor. Like if you were the leader of the Panthers, you're Fitterer or you're Tepper, there's a ton of free agents coming up this year. Ton of guys that the Panthers got to figure out how to, who to pay, who to not pay. Are there certain guys who you're just saying, you know what, I'm going to pass? And is there someone that's like, absolutely pound the table, keep pounding the table for these guys to stay with the team?
Oh, yeah, this is going to be tough, right?
Yeah.
I think Daquan Jones is probably one you're going to pass on, right? He's already on the wrong side of 30, which I always hate hearing that because I'm almost 30. I'm like, dang.
Oh, I'm 35. I don't know how I feel like that. I should be retired right now.
Right. Like the way they talk about it, it's like, yeah, put him out the pasture, like get him ready for the retirement home. But Daquan Jones is probably someone you want to move off of. I like that he's here for Derek Brown, but Derek Brown's not going to be a veteran next year and 3rd year. You don't really need Daquan Jones there up next to him. And you also already drafted guys like Phil Hoskins, and also you have Bravion Roy there. So I think you'll be just fine at the defensive tackle spot, and maybe you can draft another one. But he's probably the one that I think is very easy to move off of. Justin Burris, I think, is also going to be pretty easy to move off of. Also, he missed a bunch of time with injuries this season. Didn't really help him on Sunday with the 2 penalties. You can question the first one.
Brutal. I thought he died. I thought Heineke died. I thought he died.
Yeah.
That was brutal.
Yeah, that was kind of bad, but yeah, that's the NFL. So you kind of know what's going to happen. So you got to avoid that kind of stuff. I think he's probably an easy one to move off of. Now, the difficult conversations are obviously with Hassan Reddick, who has 10.5 sacks, which is a ton of sacks. And I think that's now 23 over the last 2 seasons. Okay. Pretty good.
Yeah.
So he's a priority for sure. Because if this team's going to be built off of defense, then they need to be going out there and spending their money on retaining some of these defensive guys, especially a guy like him. Dante Jackson, that one I'm not quite so sure about. Yeah. He's had a great season, but, like, have we seen enough from Dante that tells us that, like, yes, that's a guy we need to have here in Carolina? Because his rookie year, uncoachable, wouldn't listen to the veterans, got burned a lot. Second year, a little bit of the same. Last season, unfortunately, I thought he would have been pretty good, was just banged up. But Matt Rule seems to like his mentality. Mm-hmm. That being said, you got Stephon Gilmore, who he's going to want a decent amount of money, but only for 3 years. And it's probably going to be kind of a deal where you can move off of him after 2, where Dante is probably going to want like more of like a 4 or 5 year kind of deal. And then maybe you can move off him after a couple seasons as well. I just think I'd rather go with Stephon because he's clearly a better player. We all know that. And he's already from the area, easy guy to people to get behind, has the bona fides. Dante's not going to be – I don't think he's going to be a Pro Bowler this season. If he's not, then it's like, all right, how much of your money are you really going to pay a guy who's never been a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro when you have another guy like Stephon? Because it's not just – you got Stephon, you got JC under contract, you already got CJ Henderson. So there's 3 really good corners. And AJ Bouye is also available again for next – he's also going to be on the roster next season. So – I think it could be pretty easy to move off of Dante Jackson.
But Julian, I'm not going to keep you any longer. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you do with Locked On Panthers. I literally have to film my show first and then listen to yours because I don't want to steal any of your takes. And sometimes you have me and you share the same ones. I'm like, oh, thank God I have that video already, so I don't feel bad. But no, I appreciate the way you approach the team, and I love your journey. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you have to talk about in the offseason as well, because I love the offseason. I started this vlog right before the draft, leading up to it. And, I just love team building. And it seems like, it's just like a lot of fun, and I appreciate your insights.
Yeah, I mean, the teams, they're interesting for sure. So we still got, 6 weeks left in the season, hopefully more of that in the playoffs. So, yeah, once we get to the offseason, a lot of free agency decisions to be made. We saw last year with the draft with Scott Fitter. It's not going to be boring like it used to be under Marty Herney and Dave Gettleman. Phil, really appreciate you having me on, man. Appreciate the work that you do and the support and all that, and just being a Panthers fan up in Canada, which is so cool. And doing your own thing.
There'll be a good amount in Buffalo. I don't know if the TV broadcast will show it, but I'm sure when I drive down the QEW to Buffalo, then I'm pretty sure I'll see some Panther fans at a Tim Hortons or some coffee shop there.
Yeah, well, hopefully they give you the 4:00 game that day so you can get back to Toronto and not have to go through a snowstorm potentially late night.
Lake effect. No good. All right, Julian, thanks so much. I appreciate you.